Have you ever driven past an old abandoned cabin sitting out in the woods and you could tell that no one has used it for a long time? There's no tire tracks in the driveway. Some of the windows are busted out. Today we're going to look at this old cabin out in the middle of thousands of acres of state and federal land. I'm going to show you guys how to track down the owners of a piece of property that might not be for sale but is obviously abandoned, how to put together an offer that's attractive to the previous owner but is also fair to you. With a bit of hard work, creative thinking, and a little outside the box deal making, you might be able to find yourself a deal on a wonderful piece of property that hasn't been put up for sale to anybody else. My name's Dave Whipple and you're watching Bush Radical. Stay tuned. Now first off, we're not trespassing. Brooke and I have permission to take a look at this cabin and to evaluate it. We know about this cabin because this land is adjacent to a piece of land that we already own. We didn't know who owned it, but Brooke found the owner through the onX cell phone app. You could also go to the township hall, look through the plat maps, and find out where the tax address is for any particular piece of property, and find the owner's mailing address through the tax records. The fact that it has so many trees on the roof, all the windows are busted out, and one of the doors is kicked in, that told us that definitely whoever owns this property doesn't pay it much mind. There's like a whole winter's worth of wood sitting on this place. How many trees does it have to fall on your house before you clean the trees off your house? It's not like this is a little tree. You'd be up there cutting firewood on the roof for a week. Now we not only found out who the owner was and where the owner was located, but we were able to find a phone number for the owner also. I gave the owner a phone call. We had a good conversation. He said he was in fact interested in selling the property, would like to hear an offer, and he gave Brooke and I permission to go on the property and through the cabin and to give it a thorough evaluation to see what, if any, value would be placed on the buildings. Now when it came to the outbuildings, that was super easy. This tin shed obviously doesn't have much of any value to it whatsoever. It is standing, it is structural, but I wouldn't give much of anything for it. Same goes for the outhouse. Now I wouldn't even bother to show you this outhouse because it has no value other than the fact that it's kind of a time capsule. It's obviously been here forever. You don't see things that are this dated very often. It's pretty interesting. But if I had to actually tack a monetary value to this outhouse, it would be zero. Aside from the house, everything is quite easy to evaluate. The ground is really nice. There's a lot of nice trees. Has a beautiful backyard. It's in a nice setting. It's really close to a maintained road. And it's got this nice hand pump deep water well. Now there's no way to know the water quality or what the condition of the well is right now, but I did find out a little bit of the history of it using a website run by the state of Michigan that shows the well records. I found out that this particular well is 66 feet deep and it was driven in 1977. Now I found this website really easy on the internet just doing a quick Google search for well records and water depths in a certain area. Although I'm sure that the pump mechanism on this well is going to need to be rebuilt, I'm going to have to tack some value onto the offer because this well does have value. Now just judging from the outside, you can tell that all the windows are pretty much broken out. And there is no overhang on the gable ends of this building, so any water that hits this wall is going to run down, and it's probably going to be an issue for the window sills on the ends of the building. Ironically, the fact that all the windows are busted out really is kind of a good thing. Places that are closed up too tight, if they do get a lot of moisture in them, they'll have a major mold issue, where this place has pretty much 100% ventilation. Not what I would call move-in ready. But honestly, I kind of expected worse, especially if you have roof damage. Then you're just going to have rot. So far it looks like this might be the best case scenario. This building has tons of ventilation because of all the busted windows, and I'm not seeing any roof leaking. So there's no water getting inside the house through the roof. Now the roof is the most important thing, but second to that, to me as a concrete guy, is the foundation. This foundation, it was quite a surprise to be honest. It is driven steel pilings, capped off with a big chunk of C-channel iron, and all the floor joists look fine. I can't see anywhere on these floor joists where there's been a water infiltration from up above. They look pretty good. There's your random assortment of cement blocks and bricks and old junk underneath there and a dead porcupine. I've seen a lot of really awful cheesy foundations. This one's actually fairly solid. And that floor is actually pretty good. There's an old brown whiskey jug. That's pretty cool. Well, now that we've taken a look underneath of it and all around it, let's take a look inside to see what we actually have in this building.
Quite dark in here.
It's kind of surprising to find sheetrock ceilings.
This wall is destroyed. Oh, you know what? The studs look like they're still good. It's just this paneling.
Yeah, the studs are fine.
Wow.
Paneling might be bad just for the fact that it's been
Moisture.
open. It's actually kind of good that there's really nothing on the floor. So you don't have carpet that you're going to have to pull out.
Right. So those trees, you know, they'd be sitting like right here. Ugh. Sketchy, sketchy.
Raccoon turds galore. Or porcupine.
Yeah. So I don't see any place where those trees have come and there's damage on the inside at all. That's good.
Well, it's got 2 beds, so that's a good thing. Won't need to buy a bed. So yeah, this place is it's straighter than what I might have thought on the inside, but it is what it is. Lots and lots of porcupine nuggets.
Especially back by the toilet. You should go take a look.
Let's see if they left anything. This is where there's a jump scare, you know, something boom jumps up out of the drawer.
Totally.
What was the bathroom at some point? This is an addition. This goes off the back of the main building. If I had to take a guess, I would say that you would fill a 5-gallon bucket from the hand pump well to flush the toilet. And there's probably some kind of holding tank out here. Brooke and I, having been in this cheap real estate market for a long time, septic tanks on remote pieces of property can be anything from a barrel to an old van with a pipe stuck through the driver's window. And that's not a joke. There's the back bedroom. Actually quite a few bedrooms in this joint. This kitchen.
Fresh breeze for the bedroom.
Yeah. Some spaghetti sauce. So we know what we're eating. Here's the bed. Here's another bed. Truth is, people are always asking us about finding, you know, these out-of-the-way pieces of real estate and what we're looking for. A lot of the times we're looking for stuff like this. Because most people don't want anything to do with this. They look at it and they're like, forget that. But, you know, you gotta look a little deeper. You gotta look at the bones of the place, at the location, at the price. Perfectly good propane stove. No issues with that whatsoever. Honestly, it'd probably work. You just have to vacuum up all the porcupine turds and you'd be good. Anybody remember these cabinets?
Oh, I didn't even notice those. You know, honestly, you could probably sell those for some money right
Yeah,
now.
welcome back to 1975 single-wide trailer world.
Yeah, look at the green countertop.
Yeah, actually, we had the same countertop when I was a kid, I think.
Yeah.
We had a lot of green stuff anyway.
Yeah. Did you have as much porcupine crap, though?
We did not have as much porcupine crap. What's in there?
Is that a joke?
That's where the body's at right there.
Let's see. Ready?
Yep.
It's probably onions and potatoes.
Boom!
Empty.
Nothing.
They've been busy in here.
Yeah, those guys have chewed that shelf right up.
Oh, there's an attic space up there.
By strapping a headlamp on the camera, we got to stuff the tripod up through the hole in the ceiling and take a look around the attic without getting up there.
Have attic vision.
I love it. Wow, you totally could. There's space up there. You could open up this ceiling and make it a really tall, like open ceiling cabin. That'd be all right.
You could shoot a really low-budget horror movie here, too.
Just like the floor joists, the attic is a pleasant surprise. It's pretty sturdy, it's pretty well made. Everything up here looks pretty straight. Now this wall that you see in the attic is actually the center partition that runs the full length of the house. It runs from the floor all the way up to the peak of the roof, and it's structural and load-bearing. Now this area in the living room is where the trees have fallen on the roof, and if there was damage to the roof, if there was a perforation in the metal roofing, you'd see the water damage right in this area, but there is none, and that's a big plus.
Got bathrooms everywhere you look. Porcupines have been crapping in this place for decades. There's loads and loads and loads of porky crap everywhere. One good thing about this cabin is it's fairly simply built. It's not confusing and cobbled together with a bunch of different types of material. It's fairly straightforward. I think this curtain stays. I like that porch awning, that stays. The TV antenna would have to stay. All right, now that we've had a look at this thing, what do we know about it? We know it's actually built in two parts. That middle partition that runs right down the center of the house, if you strip some of that paneling off, there is actually board and tar paper over the wall. So that was the exterior wall at one point. Also, that cement block chimney that's on the inside, that was on the outside wall when that center partition was the outside wall. By looking underneath the building, we know that the floor joists are dry. By walking through the building, we know that the floor is pretty solid. Other than the windowsills, there's no obvious rot. There's no obvious leaks in the roof. You can't see any water damage in the ceiling. Because the entire inside of the house is covered in paneling, to tear off all the wall coverings is going to be quite easy. Much easier than sheetrock, or worse yet, lath and plaster on a really old building. And even though this gray asphalt rolled roofing that they're using for siding on this place is about the worst looking thing in the world, it's kept this building from getting any water damage for probably 60 years.
Now this cabin is a couple miles from power, so even though it's wired and has lights and switches, it was wired for a generator. Now even if the cabin had been a total disaster, Brooke and I would still want this land. It butts up to our property and it's a nice piece. It's got a really interesting mix of trees on it and some nice settings. Now we're in a position where we've reached out to the owner. We've had a good conversation. We have a good rapport going. The owner's looking for an offer, is willing to sell the property. The worst thing you could do right now is ruin the whole thing by giving the owner a ridiculous lowball offer that's insulting. If you actually want the property and it means something to you, be fair right up front. On the other hand, if what you're really looking for is a smoking deal and you want to buy a piece of land for next to nothing, feel free to put in that ultra low offer, but only if you're willing to walk away. Now, I can't put much value on the structure because it is in terrible shape, but it does have good bones, so it is salvageable. But if we had to tear this building down and remove it, it would make a huge difference in what we're willing to offer for the property. It would actually be a negative. Now, when it comes to making an offer, I'm not going to add a whole lot of value for this structure because even a modest renovation is going to be very involved. But on the other hand, it is savable, so it does have some value. I'm thinking a couple $1,000s for the value of the structure and probably $500 for the value of the well, regardless of what condition it's in. Brooke and I made an offer to the seller for $2,500 over the fair market value of the land, and we got a signed purchase agreement.
Now, to be honest, there's a lot of places like this in the world. Might have been somebody's hunting camp, might have been somebody's family vacation spot, but over the years, it's just been forgotten. And if it's unwanted, if it's unused, and maybe it's changed hands inside of a family, and the new owner isn't really that interested in it, all you have to do is be able to evaluate a structure, what it's going to take to renovate it, how much the land is actually worth, put together a good offer for both sides, and you have a really good chance of buying something that's not on the market. So if you kick on Zillow or Homes.com or Realtor.com and you're not finding anything you want, think outside the box. Maybe you can drive around and do a little bit of road shopping, find a house or a cabin that looks to be completely unused, do a little bit of tax record searching, and put together an offer that works for both parties on a piece of property nobody knows is for sale. Thank you guys so much for watching Bush Radical. My name's Dave Whipple. Be radical, eh? See you soon.